Thunderbolts is the newest film in the MCU, and it is one of the best Marvel movies that we've gotten recently. This time we have some previous side characters, some previous villains, teaming up together, forming a little bit of a family of their own, and trying to overcome their own personal issues while also facing a very dangerous threat. I didn't know how this was going to turn out. This is kind of like the Marvel version of Suicide Squad. When the cast was originally announced, people kind of mocked it because most of the characters are just super soldiers. There wasn't really a lot of variety among the powers. They were like, is this really the group of characters that we want to lead an entire movie? Turns out, yeah. I've really liked about half of phases 4 and 5 in the MCU. I don't know where this would rank exactly, but this really is a solid return to form. It feels like the way a lot of people want Marvel to feel again. So there's a lot of characters to talk about. Let's start with our lead, Florence Pugh as Yelena. I don't remember much of anything about the Black Widow movie, but I remember her being really good because that's just the case for every movie that she's in. She's always fantastic. And she is the heart and soul of this film. And of course, you also have Alexei, Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, returning from Black Widow here as well. Their relationship is great. And there's one scene in particular that's one of the best scenes in the movie. It is just a conversation on the sidewalk between these two where they're venting their feelings. And it is absolutely one of the standout, most memorable moments that was actually really emotionally impactful. This movie didn't quite get me to tears, but it was close. I've heard people talk about how it made them cry, and that actually makes complete sense to me. This movie is about very grounded human things. It is about loneliness, depression, isolation, feelings of inferiority, mental health struggles of various kinds, things that so many people can relate to, and it's presented in this form where there's also a guy in a golden suit stopping bullets with his mind and shit like that, but it's presented in a very realistic way where you totally get on board with these characters. And the acting overall is some of the absolute best the MCU has probably ever had. Florence Pugh is just so good. She has great chemistry with David Harbour. He is often the comic relief. He is the guy who's screaming a lot, which does get a little old, not gonna lie, but he's still great at what they're asking him to do. And when he needs to turn on the emotion, he really can. The themes are most explored with Yelena and also Sentry, the antagonist. And Steven Yeun was originally supposed to play this character. That didn't end up happening. That's really disappointing because Steven Yeun is great. But man, I was so impressed by Lewis Pullman as this character. I can't wait to see him continue on his career to do more things because he was really good here. There's a lot going on with this character in his normal form where he's just Bob. He has a very messed up past that has caused him a lot of issues. He's kind of neurotic. He doesn't know how to behave around people. He's not really in the right headspace. Then you get his Sentry form where all of a sudden he has the powers of a god, like literally Superman, seemingly invincible, not just super strength, but super strength that's stronger than the other characters who already have super strength, and like all this other shit that he can do as well. They don't ever say bipolar, but it's hinted at that it's something along those lines that he's dealing with, like these actual issues that he has. And so the way that actually manifests when he has his powers is terrifying because he's scary as Sentry if he's not on your side because he's so damn strong. It's like, how the hell could they possibly ever hope to take this guy out? That's one benefit to having characters who mostly have more grounded superpowers. The threat feels very real. But then when he takes on his next form and he fully becomes an antagonist, terrifying. The design is great. He's just pitch black with these two tiny little glowing dots for eyes. He looks like a horror movie villain. His power is scary as hell, and it genuinely feels like, oh, we just can't do anything. Shit. And the way they tie in those mental health struggles with the way his powers manifest, even the climax of the entire movie is centered around the psychological states of these characters and them trying to overcome them. Like, this is very clearly a vision which is great to see in Marvel. They had a very clear thematic point, a director who knew how to focus on that and bring it to life, and that is what they centered it around, with these characters who are very well defined, very likable, going through these very human, grounded struggles. And that's all you need. No amount of CGI or space battles, as fun as that stuff can be, is always necessary. You can just have this, and it can be awesome. The rest of the cast doesn't get explored as much as those few, but it's still nice to see them back. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost. Wasn't a big fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp, so it's cool to see a character who has really useful, cool powers get to be in a much better movie. And as for John Walker, his character is explored further, and I'm actually really excited to see where he's going to go from here. It's nice to see these people who were in somewhat mediocre things like Black Widow. I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier enough, but I don't really see myself going back to many of the Marvel TV shows, you know? So it's nice to see them get to continue on into things that are a little more interesting. Taskmaster is in the movie. Listen, let's not pretend that any of us expected Taskmaster to have a significant role here. Look at this poster. This is fucking hilarious. It literally looks like they forgot to put her on there, and they had to shove her into whatever corner they could at the last second. But she's in the movie. I'll give her that. Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character of Valentina has never really clicked for me. She's shown up here and there a little bit, and it's always felt like they want me to get into her storyline. Even in Wakanda Forever, which I really like, she shows up and I'm like, I'm not interested in whatever you've got going on. And for the first half of this movie, I was still feeling that. I was enjoying a lot about this, but I was still like, I'm not really sure about this character. By the end, I actually do want to see where she's going to go in the MCU. They actually finally brought me around on her. With the focus they give her here, I finally understand enough about her and her morality and how she essentially feels like she is willing to do bad things to make the less bad option happen, because she does not feel like there is any way to be truly pure and good. You can only be less bad. So if she's got to get her hands dirty to do some of that, she's totally willing to. And she's also really good at just on the fly crafting and spinning things to go her way however she needs them to. And I'm curious to see more. There's even a little bit of backstory that's hinted at that got me more intrigued about her character than I ever have been before. Sebastian Stan also returns as Bucky. Not a huge role, but it's just good to see him. He is one of the only actors who's been in all the phases of Marvel, along with Tom Hiddleston. He's been around a long time. He's still here. This is also one of the better Marvel movies lately visually. Sure, you've got the CG, you've got the big action scenes, but the hand-to-hand combat is really good. It's really well shot, good stunt work, good choreography, creative camera angles a lot of the time, some really well done action scenes, and as a whole, the movie looks really good. Again, it's clear that the director, Jake Schreier, had a vision, had a focus. They were allowed to execute it properly with seemingly enough time to get it all done. They did things practically whenever they could, so they didn't have to overwork some poor VFX artists. Florence Pugh had to beg Kevin Feige to let her jump off of one of the tallest buildings in the world, and thank God she did. Even when the characters are doing things you've seen done in other superhero films, like saving civilians, it feels particularly impactful in this movie because these are characters who are looking for redemption and looking for acceptance. And so to see them being heroes and getting to do all of this, it's like the completion of their arcs, and it's what they've been looking for. And there's this particular feeling of like being proud of them for doing it and wanting people to be able to see them, even though some of them have done bad things and you might not have liked them in previous appearances. It's great to see them succeed here because this movie does such a good job at getting you in their heads and making them understandable. The music is good. There's some great dialogue. You don't often take away really interesting, introspective lines of dialogue from the MCU. You got a lot of dialogue that has persisted, but that's more so because we like it in the context, like I am Iron Man, of course, or I love you 3000 or whatever. But occasionally you get those lines that people really love to quote because they're actually pretty interesting. Like, what is grief if not love persevering from WandaVision? There's a line like that in this, where when the character said it, I had to stop for a minute and like contemplate, like, whoa, I gotta give that some thought. That's interesting. I like the way it was written for the most part, the way the story played out. It's kind of like Suicide Squad 2016 in a way, in that you have Val in the Amanda Waller role, Sentry as kind of the Enchantress role that goes wrong, and then the rest of the team has to stop it. But in Suicide Squad, it was dumb and bad, and like this is the much more sensical, effective way to do a story like that. I did have a couple issues with the pacing. I actually wouldn't have minded the movie being longer. It explores these characters enough, but Yelena really gets a lot of the focus. And towards the end, when we're really diving into what these characters are feeling, I realize you have to account for pacing. You don't want to spend entire scenes diving deep into everybody's heads. We kind of get it. But I actually wouldn't have minded. We get enough with all of them, but if we had gotten entire scenes devoted to every single character the way we did for Yelena, I would not have even been bothered by that. I would have liked that. I also thought it went by a little too quickly with the development of Sentry. It worked, it made sense, it was pretty good. Again, they have to keep the movie moving because Sentry is separated from the other characters for a while, and those characters are on the move. They have their own things that they're trying to do, and so you can't just have the movie stop in its tracks to give Sentry more time to develop. I just would not have minded spending more time with him, watching him change, but the way they did it was still good. But that's kind of a compliment when I say I wouldn't have minded it being longer. One thing I was very mixed on is the humor. It worked for me about half the time. There were some good laughs, for sure, just because of the characters' chemistry with each other. These people that are very unlikely to work together, being forced to work together. From the very beginning, they're trying to kill each other. You don't know how quickly they're going to trust each other, if they're going to be willing to help out each other when it's needed at all. Their personalities clash very much, and there's a lot of good humor there. The end credits actually have a lot of really funny imagery in them. There's some good jokes, but a lot of the time there's just like the Marvel quips. Like, there's space in the script, so let's insert some quips. And it's not even like bad. I wasn't cringing or anything. It's just, there's so many of these movies now, and that kind of humor is very prevalent in nearly all of them. Like, it took Chadwick Boseman literally dying for them to make possibly the most serious movie that they've ever made. They're not going to do that again. Tone down the humor is not on Marvel's agenda, and it's just never going to be, apparently. Even in a more grounded, serious movie like this, it didn't feel like a lot of that humor was necessary a lot of the time. You can just have a scene and let it breathe. Let it be a little quiet. But there's room for some quick-witted humor, so let's throw it in there. And it just kind of felt like, yeah, this is in there by obligation, because it's Marvel, so they just have to. And I do love David Harbour in the role, but a lot of what they ask him to do is just yelling. And so after a while, I'm like, okay, I got it. I love Sentry's design when he's in full villain mode, but the gold suit for his regular Sentry look, not great. It's fine. I like it well enough. It actually kind of makes sense why it's not like amazing, because the way it's designed in the movie, like the person who designs it and the purpose that they made it for, like I feel like it actually makes sense that it would have the lines all over it. The way people complain about Marvel suits having too many unnecessary lines on them, it kind of makes sense that it would look like that. But, you know, I would like to see it improved a little bit if we see it again in the future. It's not really this movie's fault, but it is a shame that they already announced the cast for Avengers Doomsday. Really kind of lessens the stakes. I still hate that they did that. Especially in a movie like this. Like, I know Iron Man is not gonna die unless it's the big sacrifice at the end of an entire saga. But a character like US Agent, for all I know, he could drop dead in the middle of this movie, but they already announced the cast for the next one, so we know who survives. And I will say, it doesn't go as dark as I wished it had. There are some things that happen that seem like, if they commit to this, whoa. There was one scene in particular, there was a loud reaction from my theater, like these big, shocked gasps all around me, and my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. If they actually stick to that, that's risky. That's fucked up. And they didn't stick to it. It wasn't actually as dark as it seemed like it could have been. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I get it. That's fine, but it feels like a little bit of a betrayal. You could have been real fucked up, and I would have appreciated that. So I have my issues, but this was really refreshing, even with the post-credit scenes and the reveal of why the title has an asterisk in it and what that means for the future of the MCU, and the fact that they address the fact that we've all been asking, who are the Avengers right now exactly? Like, they play with that. They know that we've been asking that question. It kind of felt like old school Marvel a little bit. It really did, and I'm happy about that. I don't necessarily want Jake Schreier to be trapped and only directing Marvel movies. I'd like to see what else he does, but if they need another project like this, definitely get him back if you can, because what he brought to this was really great. Again, grounded, human, emotional drama, well fleshed out characters with great actors, a lot of practical work where they can. They had time to get it done. It's a singular vision. There was a thematic point. Who knew? Who knew those things could make a movie good? And also, you get great action, and it feels kinda epic at times. I can't wait to see more of these characters. They're gonna be in Doomsday, but I would like to see more of them on their own. I really would. More movies like this, please. That would be really nice. Yelena is one of the best characters the MCU has right now. They're so lucky that they got Florence Pugh. And this has me excited. Fantastic Four was my most anticipated Marvel movie of the year. Still very much looking forward to it, but now I'm wondering if it's gonna be better than this. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, just because the humor did drag it down a bit, the pacing, few little issues here and there, but I had a really solid time. I'm excited to see it again. But I think that about covers it for my opinion on Thunderbolts **. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, whether you agree with me or you disagree. I want to have the conversation down there with you no matter what. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more from me, thank you, I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.